Some news from Germany now. Every year it hosts a very important diplomatic event, the Munich Security Conference. It began way back in 1963 during the height of the Cold War. Today it has expanded to become a massive gathering. This year's event had great attendance, around 900 in total, and that included 50 heads of state or government, plus 100 ministers. Of course, they had a lot to discuss. Two wars are raging in Ukraine and Gaza. China's maritime expansionism continues, and North Korea keeps firing missiles. If that wasn't enough, a bombshell dropped on the first day. A prominent Russian critic was announced dead, Alexei Navalny. His wife actually attended the summit. In her speech, she squarely blamed the Russian president. And so the fireworks began. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky attended the summit. He used his speech to call for more aid.
Dear friends, unfortunately, keeping Ukraine in the artificial deficit of weapons, particularly in deficit of artillery and long-range capabilities, allows Putin to adapt to the current intensity of the war.
The aid winter is already hurting. Today, Ukrainian soldiers retreated from a key city. It is Russia's biggest win since May last year. So the news from the front lines is not good. Many soldiers say they are running out of bullets. Another popular topic was Donald Trump. He recently accused European nations of not pulling their weight in NATO, of not spending enough on defense. It seems to have triggered a spark in EU leaders. Most of them call for more defense spending.
And we should, because you also mentioned the West, the US, stop moaning and whining and nagging about Trump. We do not spend more on defense, or we ramp up ammunition production because Trump might come back. So we have to do this because we want to do this, because it is in our interest.
The European Union has to step up its defense industrial base without any question. And therefore, we have to be much better in defense production.
Irrelevant of the election results on this or the other side of the Atlantic, one thing is clear. We Europeans must take much more care of our own security, now and in the future. The readiness to do so is huge, and I said this to President Biden during my visit to Washington last week.
First of all, it's a very clear signal that Europe needs to do more. And I'm happy to say, that Lithuania, this year, we're reaching 2.77% of our GDP towards we're spending to defense.
Such summits are important for two reasons. One, they give us insights. What is the United States thinking? What is Europe thinking? What is China up to? Basically, a lot of clarity. And two, it's a good chance for rivals to speak. Just meet and see where it goes. But this time, two Western rivals were not even invited, Russia and Iran. The organizers said they were not interested in dialogue. And this has created a lopsided narrative because most Western politicians had the same script: bash Putin, hail Zelensky and Navalny, warn China, and end the speech. That's how it went. Having said that, a few key conversations did take place. One of them involved India's Foreign Minister, Dr. S Jaishankar. He was part of a panel on multilateralism. Alongside him were two other foreign ministers, Antony Blinken of the US and Anna Baerbock of Germany. The first question to Minister Jaishankar was on India's relations with Russia. Is India picking and choosing its engagements? Listen to his response.
Is that a problem? Why should it be a problem? If I'm smart enough to have multiple options, you should be admiring me. You shouldn't be criticizing. Now, is that a problem for other people? I don't think so. I don't think so, certainly in this case and in that case, because, look, we try to explain what are the different pulls and pressures which countries have. I don't want you to even inadvertently give the impression that we are purely and, unsentimentally transactional. We are not. We get along with people, we believe in things, we share things, we agree on some things.
So it's not just transactional. India does believe in values and interests. The other topic was the Gaza war. Where does India stand on Israel's offensive? Jaishankar explained in 5 points. Again, listen in.
Number one, we must be clear that what happened on October 7th was terrorism. No caveats, no justification, no explanation. It was terrorism. Number two, as Israel responds, It is important that Israel should have been very mindful of civilian casualties, that it has an obligation to observe international humanitarian law. Number three, the return of hostages is today imperative. Number four, there is a need for a humanitarian corridor, a sustainable humanitarian corridor to provide relief. And eventually, there has to be a permanent fix, a long-term fix. Otherwise, we're going to see a recurrence. And I think today, certainly India has long believed in a two-state solution. We have maintained that position for many decades.
Jaishankar also spoke on India's ties with the West. He said India is a non-West country, but not an anti-West country. Later, he also had a brief conversation with China's foreign minister, that's Wang Yi. He too was in Munich for the talks. The two men were seen speaking to each other. It was their first interaction in over 6 months. That's why such events are important. They give you a platform to talk, not with friends, but with rivals. Unfortunately, this Munich conference did not offer a lot of that. There was a lot of negative energy at play, almost a sense of hopelessness. The conference's annual report summed it up best. It said, the world's new direction was lose-lose.